Hey guys, it's Isabel, and today I'm here at the Texas Teen Book Festival interviewing debut author Kim Savage.
Hello.
We're going to be talking about her book After the Woods, which comes out in February 2016. Yes, and it's a great book. I had the chance to read an arc of it, and I loved it so much. It was great. It was one of the first thrillers and psychological thrillers I've read that was also contemporary, because I don't read much contemporary, but it was fantastic, guys. I loved it so much. Would you like to tell them a bit about what the book's about?
Yeah, I have to be careful because it's got so much potential for spoilers, and I'm really bad at giving the pitch without it. But After the Woods is about two best friends, Julia and Liv, who survive an abduction. And Julia saves Liv's life and Liv escapes. And After the Woods actually starts 1 year later when a girl's body is found in the woods and clues start to emerge that call everything that happened that day into question.
It's a really great book, you guys, and I think you will really enjoy it, so make sure to look for it when it comes out in 2016. I will have a review of it. It's already actually up on the blog, The Book Academy, so I will link a link to that in the description below so you can go and check it out. But how about we get started with the questions? What was your experience writing the book? How long did it take you? Sort of things like that.
So After the Woods started with an idea. So it started with me thinking about girls who had been kidnapped and the girl who comes back. And the whole story started evolving from there. Start to finish, I guess it probably took me, I'm literally adding in my head right now, 2 years from start to finish, which sounds maybe slow to you, but that's actually kind of quick. But my background is as a reporter, so I'm trained to sort of write fast and under deadline. That's not to say that many more years weren't involved in revising it. You know, I am somebody who has never read a subplot that they didn't like, so part of the deal of my book was to get rid of a very complicated medical mystery subplot that was attached to the story, and Isabel knows the story, so I'm sure you're thinking, how would that ever come into play? You'll never know because it's completely gone. So start to finish, 4 to 5 years.
When everyone talks about that, because I'm working on writing my own books, it just seems like so much time to dedicate, but I know it has to happen. It just seems like such a long process, and it makes it seem sort of crazy to try and write.
Yeah, you know, that's how you know if you're really a writer. Like if you can't stand not doing it, if it makes you crazy not to write, then you know that what you're doing is what you should be doing.
Number 2, what made you want to become a writer?
Oh gosh, I have been a writer my whole life. Like I never wasn't. When I was little, I was an early reader, and I would create my own books. I would take construction paper and staples, and this is like every writer's story that they did this when they were kids. But I would write about my dog, and the dog would go through all kinds of adventures, and it was always really melodramatic, and it involved like hurricanes and kidnappings. See, and yeah, so I always wrote those. I became a reporter, so I was always writing stories in that way. But I always wanted to write fiction. And I sort of came to a point where I had to, and I mentioned this a little while ago, but I had to do it or stop wanting it. And so I did it, and got lucky fast.
What was the most memorable part of writing this, or part of this whole experience while you were writing?
So I should say when I signed with my agent, because that was really exciting. And I should say when I got the book deal, because that was really exciting. But you know, all right. So really, sounds crazy, but it was sort of when I learned that I could let go of some of the premises that I had that were things that my editor thought should go to make the story move. And when I finally realized I could do that and revise well, that was like a light in on. Another quick point was when I first got first pass pages, and you're first making notations back and forth with the copy editor, and to let them know that it's your change that you want made, you make a slash and you write AU, that stands for author. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm the author. I get to say that's me. Yeah. So it was more like those quiet moments that I found the most exciting.
Number 4, what scenes or characters are the hardest to write, and which ones are the easiest?
Right. In After the Woods. Right. Right. So the easiest one is my protagonist, because I'm totally in her head. It's told in the first person. Honestly, writing this second book that I'm writing now is a relief because I'm finally out of Julia's tormented head. But it was easy because you're in the flow and you know exactly what she would say and do it every moment. The most pleasurable character to write was Liv, because she's so layered and so complex. And and I loved her voice too, although eventually that went away. The hardest are those, you know what, the hardest ones for me are parents. Yeah, I find it hard to write them in a natural way. I don't know, it's because I'm a parent myself, or because they're adults and sometimes they seem superfluous. Killing them off is sometimes hard. Yeah, so
I was writing my book the other day, and I didn't know what I really wanted to do with them, so I was just kind of like, I'll kill them off and see what happens.
there's something to the fact that like every YA book has either one parent dead or some reason for them not being around. Yeah, there's something to that.
Number 5, was there any sort of research that went into it?
Right, so I didn't do research in terms of like the woods that they get lost in, or running and not run, that kind of stuff. But what I did do was I read the autobiographies of J.C. Duggard, who was kept captive for 11 years by Nancy and Philip Garrido. She has sort of a PTSD memoir out. And actually that's not fair. What it really is, it's about her survival. That was interesting and helpful. I read Elizabeth Smart's autobiography, which is all about how she survived captivity. So I sort of studied autobiographies by girls who came back.
I felt like you did a really great job of writing how someone would react to that and their thoughts in it, because having a lot of people never go through that, to be able to understand so easily where she was coming from was really great, and I enjoyed that it was portrayed like so well. It was easy to understand.
Thank you, Isabel.
This book takes you to a dark place, and it's definitely a thriller. Is there any reason you were pulled to write a book like this, or is there a reason you enjoy writing mystery thriller books?
I didn't come to that conclusion fast. Like, actually, the first thing that I wrote was magical realism. And I was writing it, and I realized this is awful, it's so bad. But that's because I don't really love reading it. It's not my favorite genre. My favorite genre is psychological thrillers. So, yeah, so when I started writing them, it felt natural, and it started to flow. And I think what I love most about them is they give you like a visceral experience of not a visceral, actually it's more of an intellectual experience. So some thrillers make your heart pound and that kind of stuff. That's exciting to me too, but I want to have to be put in the mind of that character and have to think through all of that stuff and feel all of those emotions. Those are the most thrilling books for me to read, so that's why I ended up writing them.
Do you have a process for writing that is very laid out and structured, or are you more all over the place?
I'm a plotter, for sure, yeah. I mean, I said this at the last panel, but I use Scrivener with, it has an index notes feature, which is so goofy, because it's like super high tech, but then, do you use it? Do you know what I'm talking about? It just it has pictures of index notes, and you type on the index notes on your computer so simply. I plot extensively, and I think you have to with thrillers. And honestly, sometimes character comes second. I know people are very into character, and that's the first place they go, but for me it's plot, for sure.
I think it's good to have a good plot that's structured and you actually have a story, because the characters can be great, but they sometimes evolve a lot from actually having a story.
That's exactly right. Yeah, but if you have holes in your logic, it's so obvious. It takes a long time to backtrack and fix that.
Is there any sort of message you want to get across in your book, and does it have anything to do with the twist in this book?
That's a great question. So, I don't like when books are didactic. I don't want to be told a lesson, and I'm always wary of those kinds of books. But I definitely was interested in exploring brave girls and like the different definitions of bravery. And the way that Julia is brave is very obvious. She saves her friend, but Liv is also very brave because she makes an incredible sacrifice to escape a very bad situation. So I kind of wanted people to think about that. And I wanted to give them characters that they wouldn't necessarily be immediately comfortable with. So it kind of put them in a place where they had to really think about what was happening. Not necessarily agree, but maybe it would change their thinking about what brave girls were. Because there's so many brave girls right now out there, especially in fantasy, that are brave and strong in obvious ways. But I guess I wanted to create some characters who are brave in not so obvious ways.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Liz was a puzzle from the beginning, because at first I was very upset with her, but then as the story went on and more of her story came out, and the twist that happened, you see reason to what she did. So in the end it was kind of hard because I didn't know where to place her. Like, do I feel like she did a heroic thing, or is she sort of like a horrible person in a way for doing it? But I like that it made you think a lot. It had a lot of diversity.
And I think Julia doesn't know what to do with her either. And she just realizes that she can't ever save her from becoming what she's going to become.
Are there any scenes that you wish could have
So Liv's whole point of view used to be in this book. So it was about 60% Julia's voice and about 40% Liv's. And her voice is just cool. It's like, oh, I can hear it in my head. So you get like 3 chapters of Julia, and then you get Liv. And you get 3 chapters of Julia, and then you get Liv. And those chapters still exist. I'm dying to do something with them because I do think it's really neat to hear her point of view of things. And it definitely helps you understand her incredibly hard to understand decisions by hearing her voice. So absolutely Liv's voice. Yeah, so maybe a companion novel, we'll see.
That'd be awesome.
Thank
I
you.
want to find out sort of what was going through her head because she was so hard to place, but I want to know sort of like her side of it versus what Liv was interpreting from everything she did.
Right. Yeah. I'm glad you do.
You mentioned on your blog that your project you're working on now is about a boy who loses the love of his life and becomes obsessed with finding out how and why she died. This book sounds like it might venture to some darker places like After the Woods. Is this a theme that you plan on continuing to write, or are there other genres you want to explore?
Right. So, I mean, it's a psychological thriller. It's much more romantic. It's actually sort of revealing it as Romeo and Juliet meets The Virgin Suicides, meets Then Again Maybe I Won't, meets 13 Reasons Why, but it's actually like none of those. So that's super helpful. So I would love to write historical fiction. That's one of my favorites, and I have some ideas about particular time periods that I want to write about. But I'm saving them, keeping them really close to my vest because every time I mention them to somebody, they're like, "Don't tell anybody. That's such a good idea." So yeah, I would love to see that happen. But I will tell you, the 3rd book I'm going to write is also a psychological thriller. Yeah, it's already been sketched out. Great, I'm glad you are.
I like this theme because I've never read it before, but I'm like a huge fan of like crime dramas and stuff. So I've kind of always been interested in like the other side of that police work, like the actual people and their stories and stuff. So. The last question is there any place in particular you got your inspiration for After the Woods for?
Right, so I've never been abducted. Let's throw that out there right now. People ask me that. Thank God. I do run in those woods, and I do find them a little scary sometimes, but that's mostly because I have no sense of direction and inexperienced. Right, yeah, no. I mean, my humor is very close to Julia's, for sure, but I'm not working off of any experience that I've had. But I definitely had those same urges to sacrifice myself for a good friend, like Julia did. So I get that, and I think that's sort of part of being a teenager and growing up, sort of defining who your best friend is and how far you'll go for that person. So I definitely lived that.
So thank you guys so much for watching. I had an amazing time hanging out with you and talking with you. Thank you so much for agreeing to do an interview with us and be on the channel.
Cool. Thank you. This was a treat. Stay tuned for the trailer. It's coming soon.
I've seen posts about it, and I'm so excited.
Yeah.
It just looked amazing.
Yeah, they're asking me to hold it until January. I know.
But they keep pushing you back.
I know, but it's very cool, and I think you'll enjoy it.
I'm excited. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to check out After the Woods. I will leave links to Kim's page and her website in the book, and where you can find it on Goodreads and other stuff like that in the description. Make sure to pre-order it and to look into it because it's amazing, guys, and you will love it. Thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye.